Hello, in this video we're gonna be talking about polymers. What polymers are. When you say polymer, that means you're talking about having many parts coming together. I say you have monomers, you have a monomer plus monomer plus monomer plus another monomer to give you a polymer. Now the point I'm making here is when you have several monomers coming together, we call it polymer. Example of what I'm saying is this. In this case, we're being told that we have monomers gathering together to form a polymer. Now it says when you have many plus parts. Example, we got the word plastic from a Latin word. Because we need to know that most of the plastic we use today, which are called plastics, they are really polymers. And the reason we call them plastics is because the name is got from a Latin word which means plasticus, that which it could be molded. You could melt it and mold it, and the name honors all the plastic and the useful property of being easily molded, and that's the reason we call it a polymer. A polymer means when you have several monomers coming together to form single one, which is called a polymer. Example is this slide you see here. We have, in this case, we have several monomer. We have this one monomer, this is two monomer, this is three, this is four. All these monomers will have to get connected together and form a polymer. The word polymer implies that polymers are constructed from pieces. Means we have pieces of monomers now getting connected together to form a polymer. When you look at the above shapes here, you might should see that they could easily fit together. So if they don't easily fit together, we cannot say they are monomers to form polymers. So they must be able to get easily fitted together before we can get a polymer from them. Now polymers can be classified into two basic types. We can have two types of polymers. We can have two types of polymers. We could have the natural polymers, and we can have the synthetic polymers. Now, example of the natural polymers, we can have a natural polymer. Let me use a black pen. We can have a natural polymer. And we can have a synthetic polymer. An example of a natural polymer is a cotton. The cotton which we use to make our clothes today is got from this plant. This is a plant cotton plant. So this cotton plant grow, and when it's matured enough, it brings about cotton, which we see here. The white thing is the cotton, which is being produced by the plant. And this cotton is got by people and used to make clothes which we wear today. And that's the reason we say cotton is a natural polymer. And why is it a natural polymer? Because of the way it's been entangled. Now I'm going to show you another slide to let you know the way in which they've been formed. Now here it says cotton fiber, or mostly cellulose. And cellulose is made of chains of the sugar, glucose, linked together a certain way. When you have, I used to tell you we have different types of sugar. Sugar could be a simple one, and could be complex. The simplest type of sugar we have is glucose, and this glucose is, when you connect it to another glucose, it could form a cellulose. That means cellulose is it's more complex than the glucose itself, and that's the reason we will say we have to connect them together the way we're doing here to form a polymer. So that means the glucose themselves that come together to form the cellulose, they are monomers of cellulose. So this is the way monomers and polymers are related. Now, some further examples of of natural polymers we have. They are the excuse me. Some further examples of the natural polymers we have are we have wood. Excuse me, please. We have wood. We have example of the natural polymers also involve wood. Wood is a natural polymer. Wool is a natural polymer, and we have cotton warriors talk about that, and also we have silk to be a natural polymer. Silk is a natural polymer which has been produced by some silkworms. We have some type of worm which produces silk, and that's the reason we call it a natural polymer. When you say something is natural, that means there is no one which who produces it. That is to say, it's been produced in natural form. So that's the reason it's being called a natural thing. So if you have something being not produced in natural form, we're going to call it a synthetic polymer. An example of a synthetic polymer is, I'm going to show you, bring it in a new slide here. Now an example of a synthetic polymer is when you say synthetic. The word synthetic is got from when you say synthesis. Synthesis means you're producing something, means production. Example to let you know this, when you talk about photosynthesis, photosynthesis means when you're using light to produce something. So synthetic polymers are polymers which are man-made, that is to say the polymers which are being produced by people. An example of these polymers are polyethylene. Example of these polymers are polyethylene. Polyethylene can also be called polythene. Polythene has some qualities, some physical properties that make them very important for what we use them for. Example of these properties is that they are very strong, they are tough. When you say something is strong, it means that they don't break easily or they don't cut easily. When you say something is tough, it's not easily torn apart. And also they are waterproof, that is to say they don't allow water to go inside, and also if water is inside, they don't allow you to go outside of them. So these are the reasons why we say they are used for very important things. And also they are very good electrical insulators. When you say something is an insulator, it means it doesn't allow electrons to go through them. Electrons or charged particles that go through a conductor to make it easy to conduct electricity. But insulators doesn't allow the particles or the electrons to go inside them, and this is the reason we call them what, insulators. And polyethylene is a good insulator, and that's the reason we say they're very important type of polymer. And also flexible means they can be stretched without breaking easily. They're flexible. When they're stretched, they have the power or the strength to go back to normal size or normal shape again after being stretched. Now, polyethylene particles are very long. We have the long particle of polyethylene because we need to understand that when you talk about polymers, it has to be a combination of carbon and hydrogen. We can have some carbon chain joined together with a double chain, and we'll have the hydrogen particles connected to here this way to form a polymer. And among the things they said they're made by joining up particles of two elements which are hydrogen and carbon. And that was what I said here. We can have the word hydrogen fixed into these places to work to make the polymer of polyethylene or polyethylene. And also it is strong because it is very difficult to break up the particles. The particles are not easily broken up because they are very strong. And also it is flexible because the particles slide past each other. So we say something is what is strong because it's not easy to break it up. And we say something is flexible because the particles slide past each other. And these are the reasons why they are very important very important type of polymer. Thanks for listening. I hope this is really helpful.